We are live for another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mike, and today we're going to be breaking down UFC London. Sorry, I just did some weird thing with my screen and ruined my own intro. But thank you guys for tuning in. So, as always, we're going to recap last week. We're going to talk about what happened because it was a crazy, crazy card, a lot of big upsets. And then we're going to jump right into this upcoming card, UFC London, because honestly, at first glance, like pre-tape, I looked at the card. I was like, it's fine. And then I started taping it and really looking into it. And this is a sick card. This is a really fun card, a lot of really fun matchups. And I'm really looking forward to it. So we can jump right into it. We've already got people in the chat. Champ Bets, let's go. Let's go indeed. What's up, Champ? We got Tibet in the chat. What's up, Tibet? Me and him have had a roller coaster of a relationship, but he's gone from being a hater to a fan. So it's a great thing. It's a beautiful thing. Gabriella69, what's up, my brother? Bannon time, I don't know about that. Definitely not Bannon time for me, but we can talk about it once we get there. So let's do a quick recap. Then I'll pull up the fights and we'll talk about them. So last week we had UFC Vegas 104 and I had, let's see what I got. So I had AJ Cunningham money line plus 450 for a half unit. He was never live. He wasn't winning that fight. I thought, the weight cut went well. I waited until weigh-ins. The weight cut went well. He made the weight. He looked solid. Bigger guy. I don't really think much of you. And I figured maybe he can, if he can keep it on the feet, he can win that fight. He can outstrike him. And he just gets cooked on the ground, just gets out-grappled. But in that same fight, I did cash. The fight goes to the distance at plus 130 for a unit. So I profited 0.8 on that one fight. Then we had Carlos Vera money line. I cashed a quarter unit there. Won 1.5 units off of that. And then I also cashed the submission at plus 1150. I put a 0.1 unit there. So it was a 2.65 profit on that fight. See, this is why I played the money line and the sub a little bit, because I know that the sub ended up cashing, but how close was that to just a knockout? Did I expect him to come out there and have like that kind of success? Have that kind of kick? That was such a nice kick. I did not expect that. I thought the way I saw it playing out and Vera winning was Mousasi, really physical, powerful guy, would overextend on his shots. Vera would roll for a leg or something, lock it in. Mousasi doesn't have the training partners to train that kind of grappling and would tap. And that's not at all what happened. Vera sets up a beautiful head kick, rocks the dude, takes his back, and then submits him. So that's a prime example of why I play the money line sometimes in these big plus money spots and not just the props, because you never know. You never know. That's why we love the sport. But those cash, so that was nice. Daniel Barras plus 340, half a unit. Didn't cash at all. Not even close. Lima looked great. It was very impressive. I think I'm done doubting Lima. He had a little, like similar to Josh Van for me. It took me a while to come around and believe the hype. And it took me a while to come around and believe the hype with Lima, but he's the real deal. I still think Barras is legit, so winning like that is pretty impressive. And it's kind of annoying, in my notes, like I have like a notes thing on the like on the notes app on the iPhones and whatnot. I have like a thing for UFC possible bets, I call it. And for that fight, I had Barras money line or Lima sub. And of course, I went with the losing one. So it is what it is. But props to anybody who cashed Lima sub. That was a really, really slick look. Priscilla Cachoeira plus 150. Cashed that for one unit. She looked great. It didn't even really look like Nunes had a chance there. I mean, I was kind of laughing watching it. We were at a friend's house, so I didn't get to see all the fights fully. But that one I did. And I had it to the side. And I just see her go like bop, bop, bop. And you just see like Nunes has no answer. She just didn't know what to do. This woman's punching her with a right hand over and over again with a lot of power. And Nunes had no idea how to react. And then she comes upstairs with the uppercut and puts her away. That was a really nice performance. I wish I went harder on it, but hindsight's 2020. After that, we had Vettori by decision plus 110. That's the first bet I made, and it was a poor bet. I really need to start recognizing inactivity, and I always have, like if you're in my Discord and you get my notes, you'll notice a lot of the time in the notes under red flags, I'll put inactivity, inactive. It's always been a problem for me. But like the Fiziev Gaethje fight, right? That should have been a wake-up call. Fiziev favored again, coming in on short notice off of a big layoff. And there's a reason I didn't lay the Fiziev money line, even though I thought he would win. It was because of the layoff. And I kind of should have stuck to it with Vettori as well, because Delice, while his wins haven't been super impressive since the first Vettori fight, he's been fighting, and Vettori hasn't. So really good job by Delice. Proved me wrong there. Clearly, he does have 5-round cardio, it turns out. And going to be interesting to see what they do with him now. But yeah, that was a bad bet. Zaleski by sub, another bad bet, and another spot where I favored Chidi pre-tape. I taped it. I really over-focused on the Michal Sejcik loss. I can't get it out of my head that he just I don't like to say that fighters quit, but that particular fight, it looked like he looked for the door, and it was just a really weird performance. But since he's gone down to welterweight, he's been a beast, and he puts away Zaleski. So good on him there. And then last thing I had was, so when the Judas line came down, when it came down all the way to minus 240, I said, okay, it's time to hop in. Played Judas, but I parlayed her with Luciano. And it's funny because I was more confident in Luciano than I was in Judas. And look how that turned out. Judas wins, knocks out Dubin in the first round. It's so crazy how aggressive people were about that fight. There were people getting so angry, talking all this crap about how, like, you're an idiot if you're backing Judas and whatnot. And then she came out there and proved a lot of people right. I know a lot of people who cashed a lot of tickets on Judas there. But Luciano, Sam Hughes proved me wrong, and I got to give her credit where credit's due. Because going into that fight, I said many, many times with my chest, with full confidence, I said, Sam Hughes doesn't beat anybody who she doesn't have a cardio advantage over, and she beat Luciano fair and square. So I'm gonna have to adjust that read. Excuse me, I think I'm getting a little sick, which would be annoying because that'll be the third time this year. But anyways, UFC Vegas 104 ended up being a 2.2 unit profit, so I will take it because that card was scary, and I was not confident at all going into that card. And the only reason I'm profitable is because Carlos Vera pulled it off. And I will continue to try to lean into spots like that. All right. Now that that is done, let me pull up the fights that we're going to be talking about today, and we can jump right into it. There we are. Let's make me a little bigger. All right, there we go. That'll work. Let's see what's going on in the chat, and then we'll go and hop right in. Tristan, what's up, Tristan? Good to see you, brother. Always a pleasure when you hop in the chat. Tibet saying, I don't know how he missed that punch to use that hand to laser his head-to-head kick. It was a really clean combination, and I guess I see now why Carlos Vera is a striking coach, surprisingly enough. Andre Lima versus Josh Van next. I'm all for it. And you know what? Like, logically, it probably doesn't make a ton of sense because build up the prospects. But on the other hand, it's like the UFC is all about putting the best fighters against each other, and those are two of the best prospects we have at flyweight. And I would really want to see that fight. So hopefully they do make it. Champ saying, shout out to Judas. She looked amazing. She did look really good. And she made Dubin look just about as bad as a lot of people felt that she was. And Tristan saying, is Kaue actually a UFC level fighter? We're going to talk about that right now. So perfect segue into our first fight of the night. We've got Guram Kutateladze versus Kaue Fernandes. Guram 13-4-0, 33. He's 5'11 with a 72-inch reach. Kaue 9-2-0. He's going to be 30, so he's 3 years younger. He's going to be 2 inches shorter, and he's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. So pre-tape, I thought, maybe Guram's a parlay leg, or maybe Guram by decision was a thought that I had. And then I taped it, and it's funky. So I've always been super high on Guram, like really, really high on him. I bet on him against Mateus Gamrot in his UFC debut. I know a lot of people felt like he didn't win that fight, and on first watch, I didn't think he won either. But taping it back, honestly, I do think he won that fight, fair and square. And then he had the Demiros Magua fight, and there I genuinely think he got robbed. I thought he won that fight. I saw that one live, and me and my fiance, at the time she was my girlfriend, but we were, after the fights, we saw the fights. Guram lost, unfortunately. I was pissed because I had like 2 units on him at plus money, I think. And then we go to what's that burger spot that's really famous in like Cali and stuff? Is it In-N-Out? I think that's the one. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure that In-N-Out is the one I'm talking about. But we went there because it's really good. And Guram was there. Guram was there chilling with the hoodie on. His face was beat up to hell. And my fiance is Georgian, and she speaks Georgian. So when he was walking out of the place, she said something to him in Georgian, and I think he just thought that she was some American lady who was just trying to speak Georgian, because he was just like, oh, thank you, and just walked away and left. But either way, let's talk about this fight now. So my point with that whole tangent was that I've always been high on Guram. I think he's a really skilled fighter, but I was just talking about it in my recap to last week. Inactivity. Really have to consider inactivity, and Guram is really, really inactive. He fights just about once a year. He took off like 2 years after the Gamrot fight. Then he had the Demir fight. Then 1 year later, he has the Brenner fight. Then 1 year later, he has the Vucenic fight. And like, it's all really high level opposition. He's fought a much higher level of competition compared to Fernandes, who's fought Diakese and who has fought what's his name again? Yaya, and who's fought Yaya. Obviously, severe level difference in competition there. But he does have, like, Luan Sardina. I know he lost that fight. That's a good dude too. So he's fought some decent competition, just not on the level of Guram. Now, the reason that I'm kind of out of Guram now and not super high on him in this particular fight is just that inactivity. I'm questioning his chin. And honestly, Kyle's pretty good. He's a lot better than I gave him credit for. Like, watching it back, I know that the main complaint with him is the takedown defense. And I understand, but I actually think that the problem isn't the takedown defense, because it looks like that first layer, like when they shoot and he starts defending, he does a good job. He uses the underhooks. The hips are good. Does a good job defending. It's that once he's on his back, he kind of struggles. Now, in the first round, he's on his back. He's throwing up subs, and he scrambles up pretty well, honestly. He gets up pretty decent. It's once he gets tired, and he does get tired in more than one fight. It wasn't just the Diakese fight. It was that Sardinia fight, too. Whenever fights get extended and there's grappling involved, dude gets kind of tired. Now, Guram can slow down, too. We've seen it. We've seen it in the Elvis Brenner fight. We've seen it in a few fights of his. He does slow down. So I wouldn't say he has like some kind of crazy cardio difference, but he does have better cardio. And he will have grappling upside here because Kaue does slow down. And once he does, he really struggles to get back up off of his back. So Guram can mix that in. On the feet, I still kind of favor Guram. His hands are really good. I was watching him in that Vucenic fight. And after he got it back together, after getting dropped in the first, he was nice with it. That uppercut off the combination was super clean. I think it was like the second round. He's a really good kicker. He's a good striker, but so is Kaue. I feel like Kaue is also a very, very solid striker. The leg kicks are nasty. We all know what he did to Muhammad Yahya. The kicks in general are nasty. He'll go to the body really well with them too. He'll go upstairs. He's very fast is what I noticed. I think he's faster than Guram. And the hands are pretty good too. He's not one of these guys who can only kick and spam kicks. He's actually got some decent combinations on the feet too. So, and that's a fair point. You can say Kaue's not necessarily super active either, right? But at least he has 2 fights in the last year and a half. With Guram, it's just, well, I guess it's kind of the same, right? Not too huge of a difference. Fair enough. But before the Diakese fight, he was fighting more often. But that's a fair point. But that said, it's a fair point, but Guram's the one who's minus 400, and Kaue is the one who's plus 350. So the way I'm seeing it is I think that Guram's the rightful favorite. I'll pick him to win, but I can't back him at minus 450 or whatever it is now, minus 400, because for the reasons I said. A, the inactivity concerns me. B, I worry about that chin. I do think the chin might be a problem going forward. And C, I don't think that the gap on the feet is very wide at all. I think it's a very competitive fight on the feet. I just think that if Guram gets the wrestling going, which he can, because he is a good wrestler. Now, that's not like his main thing, but he can wrestle for sure. And I do rate his wrestling. So because of that, I think he's the rightful favorite. I just think this line is way too wide. So I'm probably just going to stay away, but I'm also going to wait this out and I'm going to see how wide this line gets. I'm going to let people start to get their parlays in. And if I get something like Kaue, +4, +450, +5, I'll throw like a quarter unit. I'll keep it small because I really do like Guram and maybe I'm a little biased, but I also think that Fernandes is low-key live in this spot. And another interesting look could maybe be a sprinkle on the Fernandes knockout because I'm seeing +800 on Bet Online. Logically, that means domestics will probably give you somewhere between 900 and 1,000. And I think that could be a pretty decent sprinkle because he is a good striker. And Guram, like I said, I'm just really worried about his chin. I feel like it might not be holding up that well these days. But we can move on. Let's catch up with the chat first, though. Tristan saying Guram training with the Tybura brothers is a good look. Yeah, that does seem to be where he's training. And if he is, that is a good look. Definitely a good look. Champ hoping that Guram wrestles heavy. No, he's saying he thinks he has heavy wrestling upside. He hopes he goes in and tries to wrestle. I feel like he's probably going to strike for the most part because Guram is a striker, but I'm sure he'll mix in some wrestling. Meatball saying, I wonder if the weight cut's getting rough for Guram. He's a pretty big guy. That's possible. That's possible. He's 5'11", but he is pretty thick, you know. He's built like a mini fridge of a man. So maybe the weight cut is difficult, and maybe that's why the chin's struggling a little bit. Mia asking about the point spread. I'm not sure what the point spread is. Let me check. I've been kind of staying away from those. So Kaue's plus 150, and I don't hate it. I don't hate it, but you know, he could possibly get finished too. I'm pretty sure he hasn't been knocked out, but Guram's a pretty dangerous fella, and the whole thing with spreads is, you know, even if your guy is fighting real close, if he gets finished, that spread loses. So I'll probably stay away from that. If anything, I would rather take the Kaue money line or the KO, but I don't hate the look with the spread. But let's move on. Next up, we got a rematch. We got Loughran versus Nathan Fletcher. Now, Loughran, he's going to be 9-2-0. He's going to be 28 years old, 5'6" with a 68-inch reach. Fletcher on the other side, 9-1-0. He's 27. He's going to be 5'7", so he's 1 inch taller, and he's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. I spent a decent amount of time on this fight, and I don't know if I've ever been this unconfident on the side. I can't pick a side. I'm really struggling with it. I'm going to pick Loughran, and I'll explain why, but I'm super not confident. Like, for me, it really just comes down to the fact that I think that the striking, there's more of a difference in the striking than there is in the grappling. And I think that Fletcher, while he has an edge in that grappling, I don't think it's as wide as it is on the feet, where I think Colin's quite a bit better. But anyways, let's break it down piece by piece. So they fought in 2018, amateur fight. Because that was 7 years ago, we're talking Coalan was 21, Nathan was 20. So a lot has probably changed, but, you know, not a ton has changed. Looking at them back then and looking at their styles now, they fight pretty much identical. Coalan, flat-footed, block head up in the air like this, and then Fletcher just, you know, trying to grapple the entire time. What I noticed with Fletcher is in that fight, right? In that fight, he won because he kept getting takedowns. Loughran couldn't really stuff them. When they were on the feet, Loughran had the advantage, but they were very rarely on the feet. But when Fletcher shot, he usually got those takedowns. But Loughran swept him 2 or 3 times in that fight. He scrambled very well. Fletcher couldn't hold him down super well. And then I'm looking at Fletcher's other fights, and then I'm seeing him get swept by Zygmantas Romashka. And I love Ziggy. I think that dude is super fun. I think they cut him, which I'm pretty upset about because he's just a really fun striker and a really good striker. But that man has no ground game whatsoever. If you've watched Ziggy's regional tape, you've seen him in his fights where I forget the promotion. It was some kind of very small promotion. And whenever he got taken down, the refs would just stand him back up. He pretty much never actually worked his own way back up to the feet. And then seeing him just sweep Fletcher like more than once, lock in that whatever you want to call it, reverse triangle or whatever it was, it just kind of showed me, and that in other regional fights with Fletcher, is that he doesn't have the best control. He can get the takedowns. He's a very good wrestler, and he has a very slick back take. He's a very dangerous submission grappler, but his control's not that great. And with Loughran, you look at him and you look at his career leading up to the UFC, during the UFC, and his wrestling's improved a lot. Now, the takedown defense hasn't been tested a ton. In the UFC, I think he's faced 1 takedown attempt, and he stuffed it, so the stats say 100%. But then you go in his regionals, and he's fought some decent grapplers, and none of them really took him down, but also not a lot of them really tried. So I'm still not super certain about how amazing his takedown defense is or how bad it is. But his offensive grappling has gotten really good, and he's getting his own takedowns, and he's taking the back of Luke Shanks, and he's pounding him out with ground and pound. And to me, that shows me that he really has been developing that game. He really has been developing the grappling. And then you watch Fletcher's fight with Con Ofli, and now we all know now that Con Ofli isn't exactly the best fighter in the world. He's a physical dude. He's a strong guy, but he's not the best fighter. To be fair to Fletcher, I'll preface it with this. Fletcher's a 135er. This fight's back down at bantamweight, but Fletcher competed on the Ultimate Fighter at 145. He took the opportunity. And when he fought Ofli, I think Ofli was just a little bit too strong and a little bit too physical. And Ofli had his own wrestling upside. So Ofli was actually able to get his own takedowns. Fletcher got him down like one time in that 2-round fight. But ultimately, Ofli out-grappled him, outstruck him, and won the decision. So for me, I'm over here thinking like, all right, this is at 135, but Loughran's a tank of a man. You look at him. I called Guram a mini fridge. Coalan's really the mini fridge here. He's a compact dude. He's ripped. He's very physical, and I think that he can kind of replicate that feeling of Ofli, where he's going to be very strong. He's going to be very physical. He's got a very wide stance, so a double leg is going to be super hard on the guy. You're going to have to kind of focus on trips and single legs, which Fletcher can do. But I just think that Coalan, he's going to keep it closer in the grappling than Fletcher will keep it in the striking. And that's really all it comes down to for me to pick Coalan. So I'm going to pick him to win. He's just barely an underdog. He's minus 105. I missed out on the better lines. I know a lot of people got in on the plus money on Loughran. And I understand why. I'm picking him to win with very low confidence, but I am picking him to win. And if you're getting plus money on a coin flip fight, you go with the plus money. I'm not really getting plus money now, minus 105. And because I'm not super confident at all, like, would I be shocked if Fletcher came out there and out-grappled him again? No, I wouldn't be shocked. So because of that, I'm just going to stay away from a money line side. But what I do really like is I like the over a lot. The over 2.5 where the fight goes, it's chalky. It's very chalky. It's minus 200 for the over. It's minus 175 now for the over 2 for the fight goes. And I get it. I get that it's a little scary to lay chalk on overs. I hate doing it because usually when I do, I lose. But in this particular spot, I just don't really see a finish. And I feel like the only reason we're even getting something like minus 200 or something like minus 175 is because the bookies are looking and they're seeing that Loughran and Fletcher are finishing pretty much everybody on the regionals. And this very well could have been a Cage Warriors main event. So maybe they're thinking they're two finishers. And even then, they still priced at minus 175, minus 200. So I think we're getting a little bit of a discount, even though it's chalk. And I think that's how I'm going to target this fight is I'm probably going to play some form of over or fight goes. I'm just going to wait out the lines and see what the domestics give me and where the line movement goes. But I just see I see this playing out as a decision. Who wins? I genuinely do not know. I lean towards Coalan, but very, very little confidence. And I just think it's going to be a back and forth fight where Loughran has the better striking. Fletcher can get some takedowns, but struggles to hold Loughran down and that kind of thing. And we just get 15 minutes of a back and forth. But we can move on. Next up, I do have a bet here. We've got Shauna Bannon versus Puja Tomar. Bannon 6-1-0. She's going to be 31 years old. She's 5'5" with a 65-inch reach. On the other side, Puja Tomar, she's 9-4-0. She's 31 as well. She's going to be 1 inch shorter though, and she's got a 59-inch reach, so she's giving up 6 inches in reach. Before I move on, let's catch up with the chat real quick. Champ saying, I think the Loughran line has a lot of recency bias. He's not that good, but the strike, yeah, I think he's a lot better of a striker than Fletcher as well. Maybe not a lot, but I think he's a decent chunk better of a striker. Chronic Combat Conversations, let's go. Make sure you guys are listening to my guys. Smash that like button. I haven't even looked yet. I'm going to look during the main card to see how we're doing, but please smash the like button. You guys have been doing really well with it. It's been helping a lot. The channel's growing, so please keep liking the videos if you like them. Comment, that helps a ton, and share them. Do anything. It really, really helps. And if you're watching on Twitter, you guys know you got to pick it up because there's a lot more people watching on Twitter than there is on YouTube, but somehow there's always way more likes on YouTube. Because y'all on Twitter just watch and don't do anything with it. So please, if you're watching, even on Twitter, like, share, comment, tell me I'm an idiot, tell me I'm a genius, tell me I'm handsome. Anything works. And make sure you're checking out Chronic Combat Conversations. They're two very dope dudes. And I'm pretty sure they've been doing very well with their bets as well. That's a good comparison. He does kind of remind me of Vittori. Gabriella 69 saying Shauna versus Puja fight of the night material. You'll see. It's going to be a war. John B. Maxwell, appreciate you as well, John. Thanks for tuning in. And my guy, Grateful Dude, what's up, brother? All right, so for this fight, I have a unit on Puja, plus 155. Do I think she's very good? No, but I don't think Bannon's very good either. I think that Bannon is a striker that needs range. I think that Puja will not give her much range, and I think Puja hits harder, and that's really all it comes down to. It's a low-level fight where I think that the underdog has more power. I think the striking is competitive. At distance, yes, Bannon is cleaner, but she's very tentative, doesn't have much power at all. And I just think that if Puja puts her on the back foot, she's going to have a lot of success. And it's not like Bannon has any grappling upside. Neither of them really do. I don't think we're going to see any takedowns. So I just think it's going to be a striking affair where Bannon is trying to point fight and run, jab, jab, combination run. And Puja's just going to be backing her up, throwing big shots and winning the moments and possibly even the minutes. So for me, it's a pretty easy dog or pass. You don't have to bet Puja, but I certainly would not bet Shauna Bannon if I was you guys. If you don't like Puja, I would just pass. But Puja plus money, plus 155 in particular, that's where I took her. And that appears to be where the line is at now. I like that quite a bit, and we can move on. Don't really need to talk a ton about that fight. Champ saying he likes Puja, loved Bannon in her fight against Elise on short notice. Yeah, that fight was super concerning, honestly, because Elise probably isn't UFC caliber, and despite that being a split, or whether it should have been a split or not, like, it was a close fight, and it probably shouldn't have been. All right, next up, we've got Andrey Pulyaev versus Christian Leroy Duncan. We have two Christian Duncans on this card, which is funny. But Pulyaev 9-2-0. He's 27 years old, 6'4" with a 78-inch reach. Duncan 10-2-0. He's 29, 2 years older. He's going to be 2 inches shorter, though, and he's going to have a half-inch reach advantage. So, funky fight. Realistically, skill for skill, I think Duncan is much better. Now, Pulyaev is young. He's 27. Both of them are pretty young, 27, 29. But I feel like with Pulyaev, we've been seeing a lot of improvements. You look at some of his regional tape, and it's not very pretty. And that's why he was an underdog to Liam Anderson was his name. Yeah. That's why he was an underdog to him on the Contender Series. But he's improved a lot. And every single fight, he gets better and better and better. He's at a good camp training with Shlemenko over in Russia. He's a decent striker. He's a decent grappler. I wouldn't say that he's spectacular at anything, but he's decent at everything. But Duncan, when Duncan's not dropping the ball, when Duncan's not being too tentative, when Duncan's not focusing too much on the flashy stuff, he's a much, much better fighter, in my opinion, than Pulyaev right now. I feel like Duncan's a much cleaner striker. I think he's got a lot more power. I don't really see Pulyaev having much wrestling success. Duncan has faced that before, and he's got good takedown defense, good scrambling. He can be taken down, but he does a good job of getting back up when he does, and it is hard to get him down in general. And I just think that he's the better guy here. Would I ever lay the chalk on him at minus 600? Absolutely not. And I like to think I have a decent read on the guy. I mean, so he made his debut against Dusko. I believe I bet Dusko there, so that lost. But then I bet Petrosian at like plus 200. I think I had 2 units on him. I don't know if I did anything here. I know that I played Duncan round 2 here, which cashed. And then I played Gregory Rodriguez against him again. So I feel like I have a good read on him. And my read is that he's very good. He just chokes a lot, and he makes a lot of mistakes and kind of focuses too much on being flashy and maybe buys into his own hype sometimes a little bit too much. So I'll pick Duncan to win, but there's zero chance that I'm laying the chalk. Like, if you forced me to bet a money line, I'd rather put the plus 400 on Pulyaev than I would minus 600 on Duncan. But I think it's better to just stay away. I think a sneaky way to maybe play it would be overs, because the bookies really favor a finish. I guess they're pricing it as if Pulyaev is a bum and it's just a layup for Duncan. But I don't really think that's the case. Like, I think Duncan's going to win, and he's much cleaner. But even in a win, I don't know that he blows out Pulyaev, who I see as pretty durable. And I don't really see any major deficiency where Duncan will be able to take advantage and just put him out. You know, Denise Tiulin, very little defense, very little cardio. Claudio Ribeiro, no cardio whatsoever and very little defense. Pulyaev, not much defense, but he's got some cardio, and he is durable from what I can tell. So I kind of like the fight goes the distance at plus 200 for a very small play, like a half unit, or like a Duncan by decision. I'm seeing plus 350. I think stuff like that could be a nice look because, like I said, Duncan's a much better fighter, but he also doesn't fight with a ton of urgency. He plays around a lot, and Pulyaev's relatively durable. So I could see this going to the decision. I could see this being kind of greasy, kind of close. So I think that the overs, the fight goes, Duncan by decision are all better ways to play it than to lay the chalk on Duncan at minus 550 or 600. Champ saying he doesn't think Pulyaev is bad, but I think it's a levels fight. CLD seems a lot better than him in general. All right, moving on. We've got Marcin Tybura versus Mick Parkin. Tybura, 26-9-0, 39 years old, 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. Parkin, 10-0, undefeated. He's 29, 6'4". He's 1 inch taller. He's gonna have a 1 inch reach advantage. So I know a lot of people are on Parkin. I've seen a ton of Parkin plays, and I mean, I can understand it. He's 10 years younger. Tybura is 39 years old. Tybura is very, very slow. Tybura has made a lot of mistakes in his career. Like the Spivak armbar loss was a pretty bad look. But I'm taping these guys and I'm watching it, and where does Mick Parkin really separate here? Is he some kind of power puncher that he's going to just knock Tybura out? I don't think so. Tybura is pretty damn durable, if you ask me. And who's Mick Parkin knocking out? Lucas Brzeski. As much as I like the guy and I've made money on him, it's Lucas Brzeski. He doesn't have much of a chin. And to me, that's not that hit knocking him out doesn't tell me that you have a ton of power. And then it's like, is Mick Parkin going to take Tybura down? I kind of doubt it. And does Mick Parkin have the takedown defense to stuff Tybura's shots? I don't really know. I mean, we haven't seen his takedown defense tested a ton, but on the Contender Series, he got taken down twice. And that guy just gassed out completely and just cardio died. But before that, he was getting those takedowns. He couldn't hold Mick Parkin down, to give Mick credit. His get-up seemed pretty good. But there's also a pretty big difference between that guy and Marcin Tybura, who is a very big fella, has good wrestling, and when he's on top of you, he's very heavy and very hard to get off. He's very hard to get up from under, and he's got very good ground and pound. He's got a good, dangerous submission grappling game of his own. So for me, I'm not really dying to pick a side to bet a money line. I'm going to pick Tybura to win. I just think that he's got more ways to win because on the feet, I think it's relatively competitive. He's slow, sure, but I kind of think Mick Parkin is kind of slow too. And I don't really think he's some kind of amazing striker. He's maybe a little bit better, but I don't think it's a huge gap. And then if anybody's going to have wrestling upside, I lean towards it being Tybura. So at a close line, and now Tybura, I believe, is the underdog. Yeah, plus 105. I think he's the side if you're going to bet on it. I probably won't unless the line keeps blowing out. Then maybe I will because I am picking him to win after all. But yeah, it's not a fight I'm super confident in. And it's another fight where I kind of like the overs and the fight goes. The fight goes, I think I saw at, let me tell you guys. Oh, man. So the over 2.5 was minus 150 earlier today, but it got hammered in this past hour, it appears. So it's minus 170 now. And fight goes is minus 130. So I lean that way. I think the fight goes. I don't really see a finish. Like, is Tybura going to knock out Parkin? I'm almost positive he won't. Will Parkin knock out Tybura? I really don't think so. Will Parkin submit Tybura? I'm 90% certain he won't. And will Tybura submit Parkin? I don't really think so. Tybura's got a tricky submission grappling game, but he's only really subbing guys who have no ground game whatsoever. And Mick Parkin seems to have some decent grappling, trains with Aspinall or did train. And yeah, so I kind of like the overs of the fight goes there. And if I had to bet a money line, I don't hate Tybura. He will be the pick, but I'm not really dying to back him at 39 years old against the up-and-comer 29-year-old Parkin. All right, next up, we've got Lonnie Kavanagh versus Felipe dos Santos. Kavanagh is 8-0 undefeated. He's 25. He's 5'4" with a 67-inch reach. Felipe, he's 8-2-0. He's going to be 24, so he's 1 year younger. He's going to be 3 inches taller, and he's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage. So, interesting fight. I feel like it's really similar to the Ochoa fight. Very, very similar styles from Felipe and Ochoa. And honestly, I kind of feel like Ochoa is better than Felipe. I know he's still kind of an unknown commodity for most people, but I backed him in that Kavanagh fight. I took the plus 300 shot. That lost, but I thought he looked pretty solid, all things considered, and I do rate Kavanagh pretty highly. In this particular matchup, it's like, should he be minus 300? Probably not. Probably not, because on the feet, yeah, he is cleaner. He is faster. I think he's a sniper of a striker, and I do think overall he's a much better striker, but Felipe is very durable. His output is very high on the feet as long as there's no grappling involved, and he's a solid striker in his own right, and he mixes it up pretty well. He targets the body decently. He's got good kicks, so I feel like the gap on the feet isn't super wide. It's just that Kavanagh is better defensively. He's faster and just cleaner, but the line seems a bit wide, and Is Kavanagh going to come out here and grapple Felipe? I mean, he could. He probably could get some takedowns, but I don't really know that he will. He's primarily a striker. So I like Loney to win, but I don't really see a way to bet it. Like, let's take a look at the odds, because I'm not laying minus 300 because I just don't know that he covers that, because Felipe is the type of guy to make it a close fight, to make it a competitive fight. But what I am thinking is, let me see what it's at. Yeah, I kind of like Kavanagh by decision. And my guy, Dravi over here. What's up, Dravi? Make sure you guys are checking him out. A really sharp guy. Yeah, I kind of like Kavanagh by decision because Felipe is super durable. He can definitely take a shot. I mean, he took like 100 and something of them from Manel Kopp. So while I think Loney's a sniper and a really good striker, I don't necessarily think he's knocking out Felipe. And do I think Loney's going to submit Felipe? No, I really don't. So for me, I like Loney decision. I think that's a solid way to play it. I'm going to wait and see what the domestics give, but I would probably play minus 125. I don't hate that at all. And Local Man shakes fist saying Dos Santos is easier than his Contender Series fight. I mean, that fight didn't really play out, so we don't know. But I low-key think that Santos is an easier fight than Ochoa, who was Loney's debut. So, yeah, I like Loney here. I like Loney by decision, and that's probably how I would play it, and I very well might play that prop. Like always, make sure you're in my Discord if you want my bets, my breakdowns, my notes. As of now, it's all free, so you can still get all my plays for this week free, but that might be changing soon. So if you want the free bets, make sure you're taking advantage this week. All right, let's move on. Next up, we've got Jai Herbert versus Chris Padilla. Herbert, 13-5-1, 36 years old, 6'1" with a 77-inch reach. Padilla, 15-6-0. He's 29. So he's going to be, 7 years younger. He's going to be, let me do some math, 3 inches shorter. And he's going to be at a 3-inch reach disadvantage. So I'll admit, I haven't had the best read on Padilla. I faded him against, in his debut against, what's his name? James Lontop. I don't know if it was a tracked play, because I'm pretty sure all I had like an early line on Lontop, some kind of opener. So obviously it wasn't tracked. And I played it. I don't remember exactly what the line was, but I was pretty confident that Lontop would beat him. And he comes out there and he just subs Lontop like it's easy. And then I'm almost positive I played Zhu wrong. I don't remember, honestly, but I'm almost positive I played Zhu wrong against him as well. I think I had him in a parlay. And Padilla comes out there, and it was a pretty close fight on the feet. I wouldn't say that either guy was blowing out the other, but Padilla was able to get that finish with those elbows. Now, in this fight, I like Herbert. I know he's on the older side. I know people are pretty low on him after this little streak right here. The Faraziem loss, the Ludovic Klein draw, and the Kyle Nelson fight, even though he won. I know a lot of people didn't like it. Now, you saw my face on his Instagram, on his Insta for Z. Oh, God, did he do that to me too? Sometimes fighters will get a clip of like cappers picking against them, meaning me. And then they'll like make a video. I didn't know that he did it. You know who did do it though? Bill Algeo did it to me when he fought Alexander Hernandez. I picked Hernandez, and Algeo literally posted a clip of me picking against him on his Instagram and was like, haha, look at this guy. But anyway, I like Jai here. I think he's a much cleaner striker. And yeah, Padilla maybe has some grappling upside because he's a great grappler, but I don't rate his wrestling super highly. And I think Jai's takedown defense is pretty impressive. And he's one of these tall, lanky guys who can tripod when you're going in for the legs. I just think that he's going to be able to keep it on the feet. I think that his output is going to be very good. I think that at range, he's a much cleaner striker. He just has to keep that range. Padilla's going to try to back him up. He's going to try to make it a brawl like he did against Zhu Rong. And as long as Jai uses his movement and just keeps countering, I think this is a really winnable fight for Jai. I think that he low-key has the power advantage. He's a guy who hits very hard. He's a guy who's very fast. And he's just much cleaner, much more technical. And I don't really see Padilla getting a ton of wrestling success going here. So, and like I said, I know Herbert's record isn't pretty, but these guys are all really good. Like Faraziem is a stud. Ludovic Klein is a beast. Kyle Nelson is a solid fighter. He's a good fighter. And Rondo Bedoya, I don't know what to make of him, but he beat him pretty handedly there. So, yeah, I played Jai at minus 130. Surprise, surprise, I got reverse CLV'd. I'm getting better, though. I'm getting better. If you're keeping track, I'm getting better at the line movement. I've been getting some more COV than usual. But yeah, I played Jai at minus 130. Lines come in a little bit. You can get him now at minus 115, which obviously is better. But I do think he should get it done here. I don't love the age at 36, but skill for skill, I think he's the better guy in this fight. Dravi asking me who I think is more likely to finish here. Well, I know your free bet is Padilla, bro. So we're going to disagree here, but I don't know. Probably, I personally think if anything, it's Jai. I don't really see a major durability issue with Jai. I don't think Chris hits that hard. I know he got that finish over Guram, but I don't really think he hits that hard, and I don't think he's subbing Jai. So if I had to pick who's going to get a finish, I don't think there's going to be one, but I would lean towards Jai getting it. Fight goes is minus 115. I don't hate that, but I already have the money line, so I'm not doing more than that. All right, let's move on. See what we got in the chat real quick. Champ thinking the size and range of Jai will give Padilla problems. So yeah, I agree with you there. I know the chin thing, but like I think guys like Trinaldo and Tybura are way harder hitters than somebody like Chris Padilla. Like I don't even think it's comparable. Like how many steroids was Trinaldo on? All of them. He was like on all the steroids there. And Jai was still winning that fight and dropped him too. Padilla better fight IQ than Jai, maybe. And he is going to be 37, which is a concern. All right, let's move on. Next up, we've got Nathaniel Wood versus Morgan Charriere. Wood is going to be 26-0. He's 31, 5'6" with a 69-inch reach. Charriere 20-10-1. He's 29, so he's 2 years younger. Going to be 2 inches taller, and he's going to have the same reach. So I haven't loved the move up to featherweight for Wood originally. I was kind of like, why on earth are you moving up to featherweight? You're not even a big bantamweight, and now you're going to struggle with size. And it's kind of been a problem. He's getting hurt a lot in these fights, so still don't love it, but he's competing with decent dudes at featherweight, and the physicality doesn't seem to be affecting him a ton. And Morgan isn't the biggest featherweight either. He's a thick featherweight, but he's not a very big guy. He's only going to be a little bit taller. And I ended up playing Wood here. I played him at plus 165 for 1 unit. The line has moved a little bit in my favor. It's a little bit surprising for me because I'm a guy who's always been pretty damn high on Morgan and not always that high on Wood, at least not when he moved up to featherweight. I think Morgan is really good, and I think he's a lot better than his record shows. And I also think he got robbed against Chepe. But in this fight, I'm just looking at it, and it's like, okay, on the feet, maybe slightly in Morgan in terms of skills, but I don't think it's a super wide difference. I think both guys are actually very talented strikers, but I do think Morgan has the power advantage and the chin advantage. So I'll give him that. But then when it comes to the grappling, you know, Morgan's got good takedown defense. He's not easy to take down, but Wood's a good grappler, and Wood's got pretty underrated jiu-jitsu as well. And I feel like Wood could take him down, and I feel like Wood, I don't think he can sub him, but I think he can get into dominant positions, threaten submissions, and win minutes that way. So because I think it's close on the feet, because I think there's some grappling upside on the Wood side, some jiu-jitsu upside on the Wood side, I think that at plus 165, what's the line now? Plus 140. Like, I don't hate it. I think he's a solid underdog play. Again, this is another fight that could have been a Cage Warriors main event at one point, but we're getting it now here in the UFC on the main card. I believe this is the first fight of the main card. And yeah, it's a really good fight. I'm a little concerned. Like, I'm a little worried. Like, the second I pressed that button and made the Wood play, I had a little bit of buyer's remorse because I'm really high on Morgan in general, and he has a lot of power, and I'm a little worried that he might knock Wood out. But if he doesn't, I think it's going to be a very close fight. And at plus 165, I'm happy with the play, and I don't think I'll be arbing out of it or anything like that. Champ saying he likes Charriere because he's super live to hurt Wood, and he would find a finish. Yeah. I get it. It definitely makes sense, and I can't hate on anybody taking the Charriere shot, even though it is chalky, because he will have that power upside. All right, before we keep going, let's see how we're doing on likes. How about we go do that? Because you guys, sometimes you guys need a little kick in the ass to get you going. Couch Warrior Podcast. Where's my stream? Okay. 14 likes. Could do a lot better than that. We're on the second fight of the main card, and we have 14 likes. Dravi, like the video right now. Like the video, bro. Come on. I know it was Dravi who didn't like it. Anyways, we got Jordan Vucenic versus Chris Duncan. Vucenic 13-3-0, 29 years old. He's 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. Duncan on the other side, he's going to be 12-2-0. He's 31, so he's 2 years older. He's going to be the same height, and he's going to be at a 1.5-inch reach disadvantage. Another fight that, it's funny. I could have sworn that Chris Duncan fought on Cage Warriors before the UFC, and he never did. So when I was looking at this fight, I was like, this also could have been a Cage Warriors main event, and it could have, but Duncan never fought there. But it's a really interesting matchup. I think that skill for skill, you would think that the line's a bit wide because outside of pure jiu-jitsu, I don't know where Vucenic is this much better than Duncan. But what I will give him is he's way more durable. He's way more durable than Duncan, who's very chinny. And we saw Vucenic come out there and hurt Guram in the first round. And he hasn't always been a lightweight. He was a featherweight up until one fight before the Guram fight. And he came up to lightweight and still had that power. And then you look at Duncan, and Duncan's just, his chin is a major concern. And I just don't know if he can take the shots of Vucenic. And then we've also seen him get put into kind of compromising positions in the grappling against guys who aren't even really grapplers. Manuel Torres is who I'm talking about. And Vucenic is a really good grappler. He's a very solid wrestler. He's got very slick jiu-jitsu. And he's a good striker too. And because of the durability edge, I just trust him more in general, I got to pick Vucenic. But I don't really see a way to play it because it's like, do I want to parlay him? Not really. Like, I think he's going to win. I think he could even finish. But like I said, when I started the breakdown, skill for skill, it's close. I feel like Duncan's also a very good striker. Duncan also hits very hard. Maybe not a very good striker, and he's very square. But he's a solid striker, and he does hit hard. And he can wrestle too. And we saw Vucenic get taken down before. But again, we're talking like he got taken down by guys like Paul Hughes and guys like Guram. So yeah, I think the line's a bit wide, a little too wide to parlay Vucenic. But then it's like, do I want to play Vucenic ITD at plus 110? Not really, because I think he can finish, but I can also see him getting that decision. Duncan is chinny, but for the most part, he's not really getting knocked out. He's getting hurt a lot, but he's not really getting knocked out a ton. So the durability is a problem, but the recovery is pretty good. So I don't really want to go and play Vucenic ITD and then bank on either the chin being gone or him locking up a sub at plus 110. I would have wanted something a little bit better than that. And on the other hand, am I going to go play that over knowing full well that Duncan's chin is a liability? No, there's zero chance. So I don't really see a way to bet this fight. I think if anything, you parlay Vucenic, but I'm not really dying to do it. Maybe if the line comes down a little bit, I would do it, but I don't even know what I would parlay him with. So yeah, I like Vucenic to win, but I'm not crazy about the spot. I think the line's a little crazy. Champ saying, I like Vucenic to be the better all-around fighter, but the line, yeah. He's not trying to fade Duncan, who's now trading with killers at ATT. I mean, Vittori was training at ATT for this camp, and that didn't necessarily help him, but I get what you're saying. All right, next up, we've got Molly McCann versus Alexia Thainara. Molly is 14-7-0. She's 34 years old, 5'4" with a 62-inch reach. Thainara 11-1-0, 27. She's 7 years younger. She's going to be the same height, but she's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage. Fun fight. Molly originally supposed to fight Estela Nunes. It appears like they were trying to give her a layup. Estela was like, what, plus 250, something like that. And then Thainara steps in. Bookies butcher the opener. Thainara opened at like plus 400, apparently. I didn't see it. I did not have the time, and I was not around when that line dropped. By the time I got to it, she was minus 175, and I was like, all right, well, first off, I need to tape it, and second of all, I don't know what to do with that. And then I taped it, and yeah, I still don't know what to do with it. I like Thainara to win. I think that she's a fighter that really improves fight to fight to fight. You look at some of her regional tape before the Contender Series, and she just didn't look that great. And I know now people are low on Conceição because she lost to Thainara, and then she lost again in LFA. She lost her title recently. She got knocked out with a nasty head kick. But I still think Rose is a good fighter, and I think people are discounting her now because of these two good losses. But Thainara, before that fight, it's not that she was bad, but she looked pretty raw and pretty green. And she just looked a lot better in the Contender Series fight. She looked a lot more cleaned up. I really like the way that she mixes targets. Like, she'll go for all 3 targets in the span of like 10 seconds. She'll go upstairs, and she'll go leg kicks, then she'll target the body. You'll see her dig to the body with the hands, which you really don't see a lot in these women's divisions, especially the lower ones like strawweight. Like, there's not a lot of fighters digging to the body, going to the body with the hands. And Thainara does that. And she also has really good leg kicks, and she just mixes all 3 targets really well. And I just think she's the cleaner striker out of the 2 of them. Molly's an aggressive striker. She has most success when she could put people on the back foot and just let it rip. But she kind of strikes pretty wide. Everything kind of has a loop to it. She got a decent jab, but everything else is kind of loopy. And as long as Thainara throws straight, which she normally does, she's going to hit that target first. She's going to hit it more often, and she's probably going to land cleaner. And out of the 2 of them, I feel like maybe she has a little bit more oomph to her strikes. And then I also think she's got a jiu-jitsu advantage. She's got some pretty good grappling, some decent wrestling. Molly doesn't have the world's best takedown defense, and we've seen her submitted, I think, 3 times now. So I do like Thainara to win. I just think she has a lot more upside. She got a much higher ceiling. She's improving fight to fight, whereas I can't say the same about Molly. And I think that Thainara has a wrestling advantage. I think on the feet, I like her striking more. And I think she has the finishing upside. So it makes sense to me that she's the favorite. But I can't lay the chalk because it's short notice, like 2 weeks short notice. She's flying all the way to London. And she's making her UFC debut under the bright lights against the hometown favorite, Molly. It's a spot where we probably should not be getting involved at -175. And anybody playing Molly, I can't blame you because Thainara is good and I like her to win. But can I tell you with a straight face that she's significantly better anywhere? No, I can't. And Molly has fought the much higher level of competition. So I think Thainara wins, but I don't see a way to bet it really. Champ saying he needs to see the approach of both girls. He thinks Thainara could get a sub, but if she lets Molly up like she did Rose, he'd rather be on Molly. Yeah, I get it. It's a pass for me personally, unless something drastic happens with the lines. Oh boy! All right, I'm gonna need a drink for this one. That's how I feel about Kevin Holland. He makes me need to drink. So next up, we've got Kevin Holland versus Gunnar Nelson. Holland, 26, 13, and 0, 32 years old. He's 6'3" with an 81-inch reach. Gunnar, 19, 5, and 1. He's 36, so he's 4 years older. He's going to be, oh boy, math. He's going to be 4 inches shorter, and he's going to be at a 9-inch reach disadvantage. Look, first of all, like you guys could point out, I was talking about it earlier in the video more than once, inactivity, right? Gunnar Nelson, possibly one of the most inactive fighters in the UFC. The dude barely ever fights. They call him up here and there to go get a paycheck. He pulls up, wins, and then goes back home. 1 year, 11 months ago. 2 years, 11 months ago. 5 years. You know, like he's got 2 fights. 2 fights since what? 2020? Since before 2020, 2019, technically. I hate that. I hate that. So I can't really back him. But at the same time, like, I'm seeing so many people on Holland, and I'm so over losing money on this guy. I recognize that maybe backing him against RDR wasn't the best bet, you know? RDR, very dangerous grappler. Holland, not a natural 185er. Maybe not the best bet. But the way I saw it, and the reason I did bet it was, I was like, on the feet, Holland is leagues ahead of this guy. You know, 185, 170, regardless of what his proper weight class is, he's faster and a much cleaner striker than RDR and has better cardio. And I told myself, all he's got to do is be a little smart and avoid the ground as hard as you can. And he just looked like he didn't give a crap. And like his interviews kind of tend to show the same thing. And you look at his fights and it's just, how many times does he have to show me that I can't trust him for me to understand that I can't trust him? It's like one of those spots. Sometimes I'm very hard-headed and I'll just keep making the same mistake over and over again because I'm just stubborn. But I'm done losing money on Kevin Holland. And if he wins and I missed out on the plus, what is it? Plus 110, plus now it's plus 100. Even if he was still the plus 150 that he opened at and he won, I'd be fine with that. I can live with it. But if I lose another cent on this guy, I'm going to lose my mind. You know, I can't. The guy, he just doesn't seem to be taking his career seriously at all. And maybe you can say, but hey, he's going down to 170 now. Maybe he is taking it seriously after all. And maybe he is, or maybe he isn't. Maybe his manager just said, dude, you need to try to get a win at least. Let's go back to 170. But I just can't trust him. I can't. And even if I did, it's still a competitive fight. I know that at 170, his takedown defense is held up a lot better, but let's not pretend that it's spotless. He was getting taken down by Alex Oliveira. He was getting taken down by Tim Means multiple times by both of them. And I know he ended up winning those fights, but he was getting taken down. So it's like, am I convinced that he's going to be, even if he pulls up, tuned in, good to go, actually wants to win, I'm not convinced that he would be able to stuff the takedowns to Nelson. Nelson's a pretty good wrestler. He's maybe not the best, but he's a solid wrestler. He's got decent hands to set it up. The output's kind of crap, but he's a decent striker. Don't get me wrong, if this was a 15-minute kickboxing affair, Holland would be minus 1,000. I get it. But I think that Nelson's striking is good enough to set up the grappling. And I think that his grappling is good enough to take down Holland. I don't really think he's going to sub Holland. That's kind of where I'm a little bit different than some of the people who do like Nelson here. I'm not that low on Holland where I just don't think he can even defend a choke. Like if Takashi Sato can go 3 rounds and survive the back take of Gunnar Nelson, I'm pretty confident that Kevin Holland can too. And I do think that Kevin Holland will make this a competitive fight, but there's zero chance. There's zero chance I'm putting money on Kevin Holland. Like absolutely zero. I'm not going to lay the chalk on Nelson either, not even at minus 120. Now, if this line flips and I get like Nelson plus 125, yeah, I'll do it. I'll probably play that because I'll fade Kevin Holland if, you know, after everything I know now. I just don't think he's fighting to win anymore. I think he got to a point where his manager got him such a good paycheck just to show that he doesn't even feel the need to get the dub anymore. That's what it seems like to me. He's giving me major Ryan Spann vibes. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes up to heavyweight next. But I was thinking about, in terms of a bet, I was thinking 2 things that are a little bit different maybe. I was thinking either Nelson by decision, which is now plus 300, or fight goes at plus 155. I kind of like those. I kind of like those because, like I said, I think that Nelson will out-grapple Holland, and I think he's going to win, but I don't think he's going to sub Holland. Personally, I don't think he's going to sub him. I think Holland's jiu-jitsu is pretty good in his own right, and at least defensively, I think he should be fine. And can Holland knock out Nelson? Probably he can. I just don't think he's going to get a lot of opportunities to do it. Like, look at Nelson. When is he really leaving fights at range? Very, very rarely. He's usually closing the distance immediately. So I don't really think there's going to be a finish. I lean towards this fight going all 15 minutes. And because of that, I kind of like that Nelson decision at plus 300, and I kind of like the fight goes up plus 155. So it's a spot that I'm going to feel out over the week. I'm going to think about it. Like if there's a finish, I lean towards it being a Holland knockout, but I just don't know if it's going to happen. So we'll see. I'm going to either go with the fight goes or a small play on Nelson decision. I'm going to have at least one of those. I just don't know which one yet. And then once again, make sure you're in the Discord. As of now, it's free. And you can you'll see the plays when I make them, and you'll see my breakdowns and my notes as well. All right, next up we've got Jan Blachowicz versus Carlos Ulberg. Blachowicz 29, 10-1, 42 years old, 6'2" with a 78-inch reach. Ulberg 11-1-0. He's going to be 34, so he's 8 years younger. He's going to be 2 inches taller, and he's going to be at a 1-inch reach disadvantage. I like Ulberg here. I don't really see a way to play him because he's minus 300, and I just can't get behind that when, you know, Jan's old and stuff. And I'm going to tell you many reasons why I think Ulberg's going to win in just a second, but I can't really get behind minus 300 on Ulberg when this is probably his biggest step up to date. So can't lay the chalk, and I don't really see a way to play him because I lean towards him winning by decision. I lean towards this fight going the distance. But Jan is 32, and Oberg is a sniper, and he's really fast, and he does have power. So him knocking out Jan wouldn't be super surprising to me either. So because of that, I don't really see a way to play it, but I do like Oberg to win, and here's why. So Jan's 42, and I know he's fought the best of the best. He really has. He's fought the much higher level of competition. But first of all, inactivity. It's been a hot topic this breakdown video. And once again, he's been out for 1 year and 7 months since that Alex Pereira fight. Then the Ankalaev fight was, 6 months before that. And before that, he was pretty active. I'll give him that. But he's just been out for a while. And meanwhile, Oberg's been active. Oberg's been fighting. He had the first big step up against Vulcan, and he passed that test. And I've been saying for probably over a year now that I think I'm not sure that Oberg will be champ, but I'm certain that he's going to challenge for the title. I'm like 100% positive. Obviously can't be. So let's call it 99.5. I'm 99.5% positive that Oberg's going to challenge for a title at some point. I think possibly this year. And if not this year, next year. It might not be this year because Ankalaev is Ankalaev, and he's probably going to take a ton of time off now. And then they'll probably do the Pereira rematch. And then whoever wins, if Pereira wins, they'll probably do a third Ankalaev fight. If Ankalaev wins, it'll probably be close to the end of the year, and he's just going to sit it out. And then there's also Jiri in the wings. So I think if Oberg gets a shot, I think it's going to be in 26, not in 2025, unless he does this in spectacular fashion. But I do like Oberg here. I just think that on the feet, he's a cleaner striker. Even in the best of their time, even if both were at their peak, and both of them were 34 years old or 30 years old, whatever you want to say their peak was, even if they were both the same age, I would kind of favor Oberg still because I think he's a much better striker. I think he's a lot faster. Jan is a good striker in his own right, but I just think Oberg has more to offer on the feet. He's really clean with the combos. He's really, really fast. He's very accurate. He's got underrated power. Maybe not underrated, but he's got low-key power. And I just think that on the feet, he is the better guy. Jan has a ton of power in his own right. Polish power, very real. Nasty, nasty kicks. We all saw the body kicks that he finished Dominic Reyes with. But I just think that Oberg is a better striker, even in their peaks. But now that Jan's not in his peak, he's 42 years old. I think Oberg's just going to be way too fast, way too clean for him. And I wouldn't be shocked if Oberg put him away. And then you might start bringing up grappling upside on the Jan side. I know that he took down Alex Pereira, and now Pereira seems to have amazing takedown defense. But at that point in time, Pereira did not have good takedown defense. Right before that, he got taken down by Izzy. So, Jan got those takedowns. And Jan got those takedowns against Izzy as well when they fought. And then you'll be like, oh, but Oberg trains with Izzy at City Kickboxing. He's a kickboxer too. Jan could just take him down also. Jan's lost a lot of that explosiveness, first of all, because, again, he's 42 now. The Izzy fight was when? We're talking 4 years ago the Izzy fight was, so he was 38. Now he's 42. I think a lot of that explosiveness is gone. I think he's a lot slower, and I just don't see him having a lot of wrestling upside here. And I know that Oberg's takedown defense hasn't been tested a ton, but from what I've seen, I think it's pretty good. And he is at a good camp in City Kickboxing. They do train that kind of thing. You can see with Izzy, he's a guy who everybody knew you could take down. And over the years, he really, really corrected that takedown defense. And I'm not super worried about the grappling in this fight. I think it's going to be a stand-up affair. I think Oberg gets it done. I just don't know how. So I don't really see a way to play it at minus 300. Let's see what the chat is saying, then we'll move on. Gabriella 69 saying gunny choke for generational wealth. I hope not if I go with the decision. Vulcan saying Holland KO. I just don't know, man. You can't trust that guy to finish a sandwich or hold your toothbrush, let alone actually win a fight and win with your money on it. Champ saying, I think Oberg wins, but nasty line. Jan's good at fighting traditional strikers. Yeah, I just think the age is what a big difference maker here. Champ saying he thinks the fight goes long as a good look. I know. I'm kind of tempted on the overs, but I just would I be shocked if Oberg came out there and just super fast, just bam, 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 and put Jan out? I wouldn't be that surprised. And Jan could probably knock him out too. Let's not pretend Jan doesn't have a ton of power in his own right. I'm not even sure. Oh, I get it. That's funny because Volkan Uzdemir and this is Volkan Arctic. I get it. Danny P saying Oberg has never faced a grappler. Are we calling Jan a grappler now? Like, he's always been a striker. He mixed in grappling against certain matchups where it made sense, but I wouldn't call him a grappler. And I definitely don't think saying Oberg is Did you call Volkan Uzdemir a bum? Am I reading that right? Is he even French? Hold on. This is going to bother me for days if I don't figure it out right now. No, he's not French. I knew he's not French. He's Swiss. Thank you very much. Fighting out of Switzerland. Where did you get French from? And you call him a bum? Come on, bro. There's so many things wrong with this. Okay, Fabio Charriere did not drop him. Unless I'm on drugs that I don't know about. Let me just I'm like certain that he didn't get dropped by Fabio, but let me just make sure. Yeah, no, he did not. Okay. I think we got to move on. And Charriere's also not French. All right, enough. Let's move on. There's enough issues with that whole statement. I think Oberg wins, but I'm not playing minus 300. All right. Next up, we've got Leon Edwards versus Sean Brady for the main event. Bro, come on. We got Leon Edwards versus Sean Brady for the main event. Leon Edwards, 22-4-0, 33 years old, 6'2" with a 74-inch reach. Brady, 17-1-0. He's 32. He's 1 year younger. He's going to be 4 inches shorter, and he's going to be at a 1.5-inch reach disadvantage. So, you know, if you've been following me for a long time, you were probably a little bit surprised when I played Sean Brady minus 140 here for 2.8 units too. So I made it a play to win 2 units, which I don't do often. And it really comes down to I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. You know, the reason that I was low on Brady, it was really after the Chiesa fight. It was the same thing everybody else is hanging their hat on. His striking looked poor. His cardio looked poor. But to give him credit, you know, he did get hurt. He did break his nose. Couldn't really breathe. That will do something to your cardio. And since then, you know, he lost to Bilal. I cashed there. And that was a prime example of why you play money lines and not props when it's closely lined, because I played Bilal there at like minus 110. And everybody was like, what are you doing? Why don't you just play Bilal by decision? Bilal never finishes anybody. Imagine playing Bilal by decision at plus 100 when his money line is minus 110 because you're convinced that he just doesn't get finishes. And then he knocks out Sean Brady and your ticket goes in the dumpster fire, even though you picked the right guy. That's why when it's a very closely lined thing, you just go with the money line or both, but at least the money line. But anyways, I think Brady's improved a lot. And I know that Leon Edwards, historically great takedown defense, did a really good job against Usman in the second fight in particular. Guy can scramble, and he is the better striker. Brady, in my opinion, has improved that striking a lot, but I still think Leon Edwards is the better striker. But look, like I'm not going to put too much emphasis on the Bilal loss. I bet on Bilal there. I thought that he would have a significant grappling and pace advantage, and he did. And that's kind of where I'm at with Brady. And I know that with Bilal, I got plus 200. And now with Brady, I'm paying the chalk. But that happens. You know, knowledge becomes public and we all have to, you know, adjust. And for me, yes, it feels a little bit gross. Yes, I'll be a little concerned if those takedowns aren't happening. But I just think that Brady has improved a lot in the striking. I think that at the end of the day, I talk about this pretty much every single video I have, as long as there's this kind of matchup where the threat of the takedown is like a really, really serious thing. Like it's super legitimate. Look at any Merab Dvalishvili fight. Any. He's the perfect prime example. Look at any of the Merab's fights. Look at the Peter Yan Merab fight, right? He missed what? 40 takedowns he missed? But he outstruck Peter Yan. To this day, I still think that in a pure kickboxing match, Peter Yan would wipe the floor with Merab. He would cook him. But I don't think he can beat him in MMA because of the threat of the grappling. And I don't think Merab needs those takedowns because the striking is open because of the threat of the takedowns. So I think it's going to be similar here. Brady's not necessarily always been a pace beast, but to me, it does appear that he has good cardio. I do think that he's got the gas tank to go 5 rounds. I think he can go the 5 rounds with Leon because Leon does not push a pace. We've seen that time and time again. And we did see Sean Brady just go 5 against Gilbert. Now, Gilbert didn't really offer a ton of resistance. But again, I don't know that Leon will. Leon will fight. Yeah, he'll fight hard. He'll do his best, but he's not a pace pusher. Sometimes he comes out there and he just looks like, like forget the Bilal fight, right? Bilal is Bilal. And Leon said that he was thrown off by the time and whatnot. Okay, fine. How about the Colby fight? He won that fight, sure. Did he look impressive doing it at all? No. Did he push the pace at all? No. So, like, I just feel like he's not a guy who's going to come out here and push the pace. He's not a guy who's going to come out here and make Brady tired. Yes, he's a much cleaner striker, but this isn't a kickboxing match. This is MMA. And I think that Brady's going to be relentless with those takedowns. I think he's going to keep going for it. And he's a guy where, do I rate his takedown defense super highly? No. But I rate his ground game really highly, and I rate his control very highly. And I think once he gets people down, it's very hard to get up from under him. I don't think he's going to submit Leon, but I think he could put Leon in some bad situations and win minutes and moments. I think that he's going to be able to control Leon when he does get him down. I think it's going to be a challenge to get him down. But once he does, I think he can control Leon. And like I said, because of the threat of the takedowns, I do think he's going to be able to be competitive on the feet. I don't think he's going to be winning on the feet, but I think he'll be competitive. So, yeah, I like Brady here at -140. I think you're getting 2 guys who are just on completely different career trajectories. Leon, been there, done that, and I'm just not seeing it from him anymore. Again, forget the Bilal fight. Throw that out the window. I'm just not seeing, like, the Colby Covington fight to me was a problem. And then add on to that the performance against Bilal. Yeah, it's a problem. To me, it doesn't seem like he's all there. Seems like there's a lack of urgency. Seems like the motivation to be the best kind of is gone because he got there. And Brady seems hungry as hell. This dude seems like you're not going to deny him. And I just think he's going to come out here. I think he's going to land some shots on the feet and then just go for it. And I think he's going to get those takedowns. I think he's going to end up winning by decision. And yeah, I like Sean Brady to win this fight. I like him at I played him at -140. I played him to win 2 units. Now the line's a little different. It's -159, -165. I'd have to go and pull up my odds converter to tell you if I would bet that still. I guess we can do that. So, like, I have Brady like 60% here, maybe a little bit higher, right? So 60%, we're talking about -150. I played -140. So, yeah, I probably wouldn't be playing -170, -160, maybe. I really don't know. Can't really tell you guys because I already have the play done. But I cap it Brady somewhere between 60 and 65%. That's the way I see it. Dude, there's just no way. I can while I'm still talking, because we probably got another 2-3 minutes left in this video. Can someone go look at the first round and tell me if this guy is on drugs or not? And meanwhile, let me catch up with the chat. All right. Because I see my guy Lou in there, and I want to say what up, Lou. All right. Champ saying I like Leon. Brady doesn't have the same type of boxing that Bilal has that he can be able to... Man, are we gonna really buy into the Bilal has boxing hype now? I'm not sold on that either. I think Bilal had striking upside because of the threat of the takedowns. Exactly what I was talking about. Clinch game, I guess I can see what you're saying. I mean, I can't blame anyone taking the shot on Leon at plus money. At the end of the day, yeah, if he can keep this on the feet, he's the better striker. But I really think Sean's gonna get it done. Lou, what's up, Lou? Good to see you, brother. It's been a minute since you pulled up to my videos. Brady shot 5 takedowns on Bilal, landed 0. Leon shot 2 and landed 2. I mean, MMA math, my brother. Can't think of any other person who has taken Bilal down, able to control him besides Leon. Yeah, that's fair enough. Brady had a tough time with Burns early. He did win rounds, but Leon is better than Burns everywhere. Yeah, Leon is. I don't think it's going to be an easy fight by any means, but I think it's a fight that Brady's going to win, personally. Leon's get-up game is good, but Brady has the cardio to keep. Yeah, I think he does too. And I know a lot of people are hating on his cardio now, but I really don't think so. Kobe also had 10 attempts and landed 2. Kobe is also like halfway out the door. You know, that dude's career is done. Lou pointing out Brady in over 1 round is -115 on DK. That's nice. That's nice. I played this long before those props came out, but that's probably a good way to target it, and that's probably how I would target it at this point. Dude, I can't take you seriously. I'm about to pull up this fight on live stream. You guys want to watch it with me? I don't think I can pull it up on the thing, but we need to see this. Because there's just no way, and this guy's driving me crazy. All right. So he said end of round 1. All right. So I can't pull this up on screen. You guys want to follow along? I'll give you a second to get the fight open. All right. It's round, right? So let's skip. We don't need to. So far, there's. All right. I'm 2.5 minutes in. Oberg hurt Charriere. Okay. Low blow. Okay. Takedown attempt. Okay. Oberg takes down Charriere. Okay. They're back on the feet. Got 1.5 minutes left. Charriere misses an overhand. I guess that's not the strike that knocks down Oberg. Okay, leg kick knocks down Charriere. I'm still not seeing it. We're getting dangerously close to the end of the first round. There, we got 1 minute left in the first. Charriere's back on the fence. Oberg jab, moves away. Charriere takes center. I'm not seeing it yet, buddy. Still not seeing it. Okay. Okay, Oberg backing him up. Wheel kick. Nice. Okay, yeah, dude, you're on all the drugs. All of them. Danny P. UFC. Last 10 seconds? Oh! He's right. He's actually kind of right. Literally 3 seconds. Last 3 seconds. All right, here it is. Oberg's got him backed up. Leg kick. Fabio's timing it. Throws the left, and he actually did knock him down. Damn. Fair is fair. He was right. Maybe he's not on drugs after all. All right. Well, that was fun. All right. And that's it, guys. Fair enough, Danny. You win this one. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in. That was UFC London. That was quite a bit of fun. I'll run through the picks real quick, and then we will get out of here, and I'll tell you my bets one more time as we go through it. Guram, but dog or pass. Coalan, but overs or pass. Tomar, Duncan, not touching that money line, though. Let's go Tybura, I guess. Kavanagh, Jai. Like, I'll pick Morgan to win, but it's a dog or pass, and I did play the dog. Vucenic, Thainara, Gunner, Oberg, and Sean Brady. And then my bets are Sean Brady -140 to win 2 units. Nathaniel Wood +165 1 unit. Jai Herbert -130 to win 1 unit. And Puja Tomar +155 for 1 unit. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will catch you next time.